Well, that's the first impressions of the Kampfpanzer 70. Now let's go to some other gameplay footage that I have, and this is a cheap double ace. When it becomes cheap, you will see why. However, I want to point out here a thing. What is the one thing that the Leopard misses when it's stock? Convincing firepower? Check. Damage output? Check. Armor? Well, you really can't upgrade the armor, so check. And yeah, the Leopard 1 also misses the stabilizer, but so does a lot of the 8.0 tanks, the first M60, a lot of the Russian medium tanks also miss it. However, when you play the KPz-70, it feels like it's not feeling like playing arcade. It's feeling like you're playing the 1st of April Fool's event with actual map rotation and normal Tech 3 tanks serving you as gun food. And that's everything that this tank really is about. It is the incarnation of power creep. When it comes to new armor models, when it comes to new game mechanics, I'd say the stock run is not that awful. I mean, you get an ATGM as a stock shell, which works, in my opinion. I haven't tested out it too much, and this AP FSDS shell is a tier 2 upgrade, That is something that you should keep in mind. The stock grind as well is not that difficult, and the one thing that the Leopard also lacks when it's stock is mobility. The ground pressure is just too high, it's just too clumsy, too immobile. It doesn't feel like the mobile main battle tank that I want it to be. I mean, hell, it can't get the advantage in a cap race versus some of the more heavily armored Russian tanks, medium tanks, and to a certain degree also heavy tanks. Just here deleting the T10M. And I think it just feels so different. It feels like cheating. Okay, this is what this tank feels like. Now, look at this engagement. My gun breach is down, and normally you'd be dead in a Leopard. But in this tank, I can shy him back with the 20mm, actually do damage to him, and keep him in cover while I'm repairing the gun breach. And yeah, that is also something that I want to show you, is this entire engagement. I do silly stuff here, okay? I do silly stuff here, and you will see it just in a moment. In a Leopard, I would be dead, and even if I would survive this, I wouldn't. I would be in a kind of strange engagement, in a standoff, and this is something that kills you most of the time, because then you waste a lot of time. There is a second enemy approaching. Nobody of your team helps you. The good stuff. And with this tank, you might be able to bully yourself out of certain situations, because you can constantly put pressure on your enemy, and other very lightly armored vehicles that normally would be a massive threat to you, now you can hold back. Something like the Object 906 or the M56 Scorpion, hell, even the new Ontos or other very lightly armored vehicles, maybe AAAs, you now can keep in cover with the 20mm that is higher up and doesn't seem to get damaged all that much. It didn't happen to me so far, so I still have to test this out. Also, you can be kind of hauled down and damage the launch rails of ATGMs, which are also hauled down. So this 20mm is awesome. Also, you can shoot at low-flying aircraft, and you have so much more options. And then there is the awesome gun, the very quick reload. Everything is just fantastic about this tank. And ultimately, I won this engagement that I would not have won in a Leopard. How often do you think, I'm smart, I'm a Leopard, I flanked the enemy, somebody surprises you and you're dead because you just didn't get the first shot in. Also, watch this shot on the enemy KPz-70. The AP FSDS shell just went right through the armor like nothing. So I think the armor on the KPz-70 and the Kampfpanzer 70 is still awesome, but well, you better do not rely on it. But I think this is a common theme at tank warfare and throughout, the entire BRs of War Thunder. There's always somebody that finds even the tiniest and smallest weak spots. But then if you try to shoot yourself at this, well, you're never gonna hit it, do you? It's always the same. It's always the same. Well, it is like that for me. And that's my third kill here on the ZSU-37. So I'm talking here about a cheap double ace, because now I did not really help out my team too much, and I just used the flanking shots. Talking about flanking shots, look at that shot. Booyah. Oh, does it feel good. This stabilizer is a different stabilizer that you have on the Leopard A1A1. And same goes here for the Chieftain. And before he can turn his turret, the next shot is out. And disables his ability to shoot back. I am at the same portion. He maybe tries to roll back on the slope, but it doesn't matter. And I go ultimately through the part of the Chieftain Mark III that is a bit flat compared to other parts of the turret. I'm not quite sure if I would have passed through that section of the armor on the new Chieftain Mark X with the steel blue armor. I have to check that out. So this patch is completely new for me. Don't expect every day a tank review on one of the new upcoming vehicles. I have to get them first myself. I have to spend here a few golden birds and a lot of painful grinding and module unlock to get the rewards RP, so to speak, to get my hands on this tank as fast as possible. Didn't have enough gold left to get all the necessary upgrades to show you this tank fully upgraded. But the gun is upgraded. I have the new ammunition type, I have the repair kit and the fire extinguisher, and that's actually all that you need. And this is such a massive relief after the Leopard, which I despise to play whenever I have to grind through something and I want to unlock certain modules on the Leopard. I just simply despise the Leopard. This is like a Leopard on steroids, many people say, but it isn't. It's something completely different. It serves you very well within War Thunder, and I think this is now the ultimative badass within War Thunder on the food chain, or at the top of the food chain. And well, I think this is something different right now, right? I just can't wait for Gaijin to fix the battle ratings, hopefully soon, within like 2 weeks time. I hope so. And to summarize it up, I'm just still astonished by the full experience of this patch so far. The new maps, how they play out in the few battles that I have played so far, the new tanks, how the old tanks play against them, and well, the full experience so far I couldn't really get. It's just too early on. I cannot tell you if this will be a good patch or a bad patch. Well, for him it's a bad patch so far. 6th kill, and from now on you know what's going to happen. Stationary spawn pushing. Usually I use other words for it, but that doesn't exist. The fun fact is that hash was nerfed to such a degree that it is exactly not good enough anymore to one-shot those Russian tanks, because the threshold for the statistics is exactly at 60 degrees, it seems like. So the fun fact is, you can now one-shot or still penetrate the hull front of a King Tiger with a 152mm hash shell, because it's around about 56 degrees, although if you angle it, then you still can not go through it anymore with the British 120mm hash shell. However, you certainly can't penetrate a Soviet medium tank anymore when it has a slight angle. And even if it doesn't have angle, it has a like 9 out of 10 chance to absorb your hash shell. And I think this is not a nerf to the British hash shell, but more like an adjustment for the hash shell that alternatively results in an, well, very well calculated buff for the Russians, because it's exactly not good enough to go through. Whatever you call it, Russian bias or necessary buff to the Russians, necessary nerf to the British, it's just very interesting how it interacts with each other. I've shown it in my second death server video. If you go then close and you press the gun into the armor and pull the trigger, it's always a guaranteed penetration. So that's very funny, isn't it? Also, the FV405 is now unable to one-shot enemy tanks. You know, it's like previously you could one-shot a mouse. Now you have difficulties to kill even the loader from the front from a King Tiger when you hit the hull. It's really weird. Like you have to get used to it. The question is if APDS of the L7 gun now finally will perform. We will see how it works out. I still have my doubts if they give also then to the APDS a buff in terms of reliability, better normalization, more damage effect. It would be kind of okay. And also with the rocket nerf, well, I have looked at the stats. Now we have actual stats. It's still possible for the RP3s to one-shot a King Tiger, but you then have to hit the roof of it and not just the side armor or in the front plate. And that is something that I think is really okay. And then also, as predicted, the Werfegranaten and also the Tiny Tims have much more penetration. I think they still can deal with most tanks in one salvo when hitting them directly, especially non-German tanks, although they might have problems with certain Russian tanks when hitting the side armor. And this right there was my 10th kill. Very nice. It's just the reliability of the Kampfpanzer 70 and just this forgiveness. It almost feels like playing a Russian medium tank in arcades versus non-Russian medium tanks. If you get what I'm trying to say, I'm not used to it. It's off the scale. That's the best description that I can give you for the Kampfpanzer 70, and this is the first Tier 6 vehicle that I unlocked. So I have to test out the T64, I have to test out how the KPz-70 really differs from the Kampfpanzer 70. We have to, or I have to test it out, and that takes time. Tomorrow's video will be something different. It will be from the old patch. I still have quite some nice footage from the old patch, and I think it still will be entertaining. And while that, I can try to grind for the new vehicles, so I don't have to invest the additional time into also making videos, because they're also already uploaded. And at this point in time, I think I just end the video. I have my double A's, nothing happens anymore. We are just waiting for the tickets to bleed down. And well, that's it for me today. So let me know in the comment section what you think about this new patch, your first impressions. What do you think about the old meta in the old patch in 1.69, back in the good old days, you know. How it now really plays out. What do you think about the power creep, and how Gaijin should, when they make the change, how they should make it, what you kind of expect from the decompression. Let's speculate here a little bit, and well, that's it for me today. So thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other in the skies and on the battlefields of War Thunder.